Hi everyone, this is Maya, and I want to thank everybody for their well wishes and welcoming to Booktube, official Booktube. And on today's video, I just want to talk a little bit about how my NaNoWriMo is going, and then I guess this thing called TBR and end of the month reading, that thing the booktubers do. So, my NaNoWriMo is not going great. My depression kicked in in right before NaNoWriMo. Really bad timing. So I am trying to struggle through and not succeeding very well. And my problem is that I am having a hard time coming up with my three disasters. So in the Snowflake Method, you come up with a sentence that summarizes your whole story. And then you need three disasters that will change the direction of the story. And when I think of it in that logical way, I can't come up with them. And I'm realizing that the last time I brainstormed a story, I didn't think about it in a really logical way like that. And my disasters and my plot came much faster because I was thinking about it in a really holistic way. And so that's what I'm ready to work on right now is finding my three disasters and getting started on my first chapter, because I really need at least my first disaster before I can start writing, because I have no idea where to go. My character development is pretty tight. It could definitely be better, but my two main characters I know very well. I know their voices. I do this really crazy thing sometimes where when I'm driving to and from work, I'll monologue in one of my characters' voices. And I'm sure I look a little cuckoo in the head when you're driving past, but it really helped me. It helps me get to know my character's voice, and I'll have my characters talking to each other, and yeah, a little crazy. So that's what I do, and so I feel like I know my characters really well, which is step 3. So step 2 is what's holding me back, and it's partially because I don't know this genre. I'm writing outside my genre, and if I cannot get this kicked into gear, what I'm going to end up doing is working on my second novel, working on the editing for that, if I can't figure this out. Because I don't want to end up ending National Novel Writing Month, the Campnanowrimo, without having written. I know that that would be very depressing for me, and I would feel like I let myself down, and I let my cabin down. And so I'm giving myself 2 more days to get through this. And if I haven't figured it out, then I'm going to start working on past while I'm still working on figuring it out. Because I will figure it out, even if it's a matter of one day I'm walking or brushing my teeth and a giant light bulb hits me on the head and it's like, oh, duh, how come I didn't see that? Of course, that's what's going to happen in the story. It's so obvious. And it's funny because I know what happens in the big picture, but I've been trying to outline this for the last month, and I haven't been able to really focus in a creative way. And I know it's just because my brain's ah! So we'll see what happens. As far as today, I slept most of the day. I literally just woke up, which is probably a little crazy. Um, I was up for a few hours earlier, and I got a lot of work done on the website. Not my personal website, but my Literary Roadhouse website, the one that goes with the podcast. I got a lot of work done. There were some changes that needed done, and I'd been putting them off because I wasn't sure how I wanted to do them. And then, of course, just like with the book, the answer came to me and it was really obvious, and I felt so silly for not having seen it before because it ended up being really easy. But it was time consuming. It was detailed, and I had to go back through all the old posts and adjust the show notes to the new formatting and the new additions to make it easier to navigate. So that was really good, and it made me really happy. We've had a massive surge of traffic the last 2 days, and I've been really wanting to, orient that in a way so that that traffic, when they come to the website, it's just really an easy experience for them, as well as being beautiful, as well as being good for use with the readers that the blind people use. I want the website to just be really accessible that way. I've toyed around with the idea of doing transcripts, but I can't physically do them and I can't afford them right now. So that's something that I can't do, which is really disappointing to me because I actually think um, that's something that I would like to have transcripts for all of the podcasts. But on the plus side, as I was doing a lot of brainstorming, and this pertains to Booktube, as I was doing a lot of brainstorming on what I can do to really get the word out, I was thinking about sponsoring like a short story event in my local area, and having that sponsored by the podcast, where like authors would come and read short stories. And because I feel like short stories just aren't, they're ignored in so many ways. It's like an afterthought, and it was an afterthought for me. Like, I didn't consider them until I started reading them for the podcast, and as I read them, I'm learning so much about literature as a whole since taking the time and reading a short story a week. And it's not even very much, it's just one short story a week. But here we are, we're 9 weeks in. I've read 9 short stories by 9 authors, several different genres. And I mean, they're all literary fiction, but I've read some magical realism, I've read some really sparse minimalism. I'm just learning so much about writing from reading these short stories. And I'm finding that the writing in short stories, at least the short stories we've been reading, is much better than the writing in novels. Like, even the short stories I don't like, or the short stories that I feel are lacking in skill, are much more skilled than the novels I don't like, or the novels that are lacking in skill. And that makes me realize that a lot of people are missing out on some really amazing literature. So those are some ideas I'm tossing around. I'm also I'm doing a special thing for this Veda, and you'll see it when it goes up. And I hope you enjoy it. And I should probably go. So until next time. Oh, is there anything that I wanted to cover? Nope. Yeah, I think that was it. Oh yeah, my reading. I knew there was something I was missing. So, what did I read last month? I didn't finish anything. I'm in the beginning of Middlesex. I'm about a fourth. I went from about a fourth of the way to about a third of the way through War and Peace. I read 5 short stories last month by 5 different authors. And I've been working on Che, and this is what I wanted to talk about today. I love audiobooks, but how do you know when you're just going to give up on an audiobook? Because I've got this audiobook. There's a book I've wanted to read for a really long time, but it's so big I've never read it. I've just never gotten through it. It's a biography of Che Guevara, and I really want to get through it. And so I got it on audiobook. And I've attempted to listen to this audiobook 3 times over the past, 5 years. The narrator puts me to sleep. And I have such a hard time with his voice. I have to keep rewinding him. It's horrible. As a last resort, I'm going to try speeding him up and see if it makes it any easier. But I have this problem with books too, where when they lose my attention, or when I don't want to read them anymore, I have a hard time walking away and DNFing them. I'm wondering, does anyone else have a hard time DNFing books? Because it actually holds me behind in my reading. It used to be that if I didn't feel like reading a book, I literally would not allow myself to read anything else until I finished it. And so I would go weeks without reading. And since deciding to start trying to read multiple books at the same time, that's better. But it also means that I'm not necessarily finishing books. Like, I'm partway in 2 books. And so I'm just wondering, when do you look at a book and say, you know what, I'm just not going to read that? That's my question for the comment section today. Ciao.